Tahukah Anda apa itu Alzheimer? Alzheimer adalah gangguan penurunan fungsi otak yang mempengaruhi daya ingat, emosi, perilaku, dan fungsi otak lainnya. 1 dari 10 orang yang berusia di atas 65 tahun mengidap Alzheimer. Setiap 3 detik, ada 1 orang terdiagnosa Alzheimer di dunia. Alzheimer belum bisa disembuhkan. Obat yang ada hanya untuk memperlambat progresivitas dan mengatasi gejala Alzheimer. Kurangilah risiko terkena Alzheimer, kenali 10 gejala umum penyakit Alzheimer. Gangguan daya ingat.
Pak, anak-anak nanti jadi pulang kan?
Jadi.
Pak, anak-anak jadi pulang kan ya?
Kok tanya lagi? Kan barusan sudah dijawab, Bu.
Sering lupa akan kejadian yang baru saja terjadi, menceritakan dan menanyakan hal yang sama berulang-ulang, lupa akan satu hal dalam frekuensi yang terlalu sering. Sulit fokus.
Halo? Halo? Ini telepon udah rusak mungkin ya. Kok nggak bisa dipakai?
Melakukan hal yang biasa dan sederhana menjadi lebih susah dan perlu waktu lama. Sulit melakukan kegiatan sehari-hari.
Dari tadi nulis perencanaan keuangannya, kok nggak selesai-selesai, Bu?
Seringkali sulit untuk merencanakan atau menyelesaikan tugas sehari-hari. Bingung cara mengatur keuangan, bahkan bingung cara mengemudi. Disorientasi waktu.
Anterin ibu yuk.
Mau kemana jam 10 malam begini, Bu?
Ke pasar.
Disorientasi tempat. Bingung akan waktu di mana mereka berada dan tidak tahu jalan pulang. Susah memahami visual spasial.
Ayo Pak, pulang.
Ini cara keluarnya gimana ya? Bu, kok tumpah-tumpah dibiarkan?
Hah? Tumpah? Apanya?
Kesulitan memahami visual spasial dapat kita lihat dari kesulitan mengukur jarak, membedakan warna, tidak mengenali wajah sendiri di cermin, menabrak cermin atau pintu kaca ketika berjalan, serta kesulitan mencari jalan keluar yang sebelumnya dilalui. Gangguan berkomunikasi.
Pak, tolong ambilin itu, itu loh, jam dinding ibu di...
Maksud Ibu, jam tangan.
Iya, jam tangan.
Gangguan berkomunikasi dapat kita lihat dari kesulitan berbicara dan mencari kata yang tepat di dalam sebuah percakapan, serta bingung untuk melanjutkannya. Menaruh barang tidak pada tempatnya.
Pasti kamu ya Udin yang ambil dompet.
Tidak, Nyonya. Sumpah.
Menyimpan barang tidak pada tempatnya, bahkan kadang curiga ada yang mencuri atau menyembunyikan barang tersebut, sehingga berdampak terhadap orang-orang di sekitarnya. Salah membuat keputusan.
Ini Mas, uangnya.
Loh, kebanyakan, Bu. Belanjaan Ibu cuma 20.000 aja.
Salah membuat keputusan meliputi bingung menentukan suatu hal, susah menghitung, berpakaian tidak serasi atau terbalik, dan lain sebagainya. Menarik diri dari pergaulan.
Ibu kok di sini sih? Nggak ikut kumpul bareng aja di luar?
Nggak apa-apa Pak. Enakan di sini. Nggak usah, di sini aja.
Menarik diri dari pergaulan dengan atau tanpa alasan yang jelas, tidak memiliki inisiatif untuk melakukan aktivitas yang biasa dinikmati, cenderung diam saja dengan mata menerawang. Perubahan perilaku dan kepribadian.
Masakan Ibu agak asin ya?
Gitu ya. Dulu aja bilangnya enak, sekarang bilangnya asin. Bapak udah gak cinta lagi ya sama ibu. Serba salah semuanya.
Orang berubah menjadi lebih sensitif, mudah tersinggung. Hal kecil dapat memicu kemarahan yang meledak-ledak yang berlebihan. Iritabilitas, depresi, mudah kecewa, dan putus asa. Apabila Anda melihat adanya 10 gejala Alzheimer ini, tindakan selanjutnya adalah memeriksakan ke dokter, meminta untuk diberikan deteksi dini serta pemeriksaan lebih lanjut, bergabung dengan komunitas peduli Alzheimer di lingkungan Anda. Tindakan mengurangi risiko terkena Alzheimer diantaranya adalah melakukan olahraga teratur, menerapkan pola makan yang sehat, mengkonsumsi gizi seimbang, melatih otak secara berkala, berpikiran positif, dan beraktivitas produktif. Hubungi Alzheimer Indonesia jika salah satu keluarga atau di lingkungan terdekat Anda ada yang mengalami ciri-ciri dari 10 gejala demensia Alzheimer. Jangan maklum dengan pikun. Lupa, kehilangan daya ingat bukanlah bagian normal dari penuaan.
Hi, hello everyone. Welcome back or welcome for the first time for Alzheimer Indonesia Netherlands. We have already the 28 sessions. Thank you very much. This is actually a really special for us because we have a very special guest and a very special moderators from our colleague from Alzheimer Indonesia, San Francisco. If you see, like now, we are inspired by our fellow from San Francisco. They have a Golden Gate Bridge, and then the Netherlands have the tulips and the klompen, the clocks, and the windmills. So thank you very much. This is the first time, actually, we are doing a collaborations between two chapters. Alzheimer Indonesia Nederland is one of the 22 chapters from Alzheimer Indonesia. And now this is the first time we are collaborating online and also in the time zone. So now good morning, really early morning in America, and good afternoon in the Netherlands and also in the Europe region, and good evening in Indonesia. It's 9 o'clock already in Indonesia. Thank you very much of being here. This is yesterday we were at the Alzheimer Europe conference for 3 days. So we are really grateful that we have 5 posters being accepted and presents in the Alzheimer Europe conference. It's all about the immigrant and the minority, ethnic minority. How do we address it in the region, in the Europe? And one of the things that still a part of being all the scientific, all the technologies and all the research that I really take home note personally for me is from Mira Vernooy-Dyson, is also from the Netherlands, and Helen. They said is how you cherish. It's like not you keep not contact, but how you cherish your social contact now in this period of time. They are your valuable connections. They are the one who always around you. And this is Alzheimer Indonesia, also my global family. So I keep my contact, and here we are. And one of them also said we always have to put our lipstick on. So I'm putting my lipstick on too. So it makes our day. Cherish the contact and put the makeup on for the girls, for the women. And again, thank you very much. I met Rajiv a couple years ago in Salzburg Global Seminars with DY. I see DY too here. Hi, DY. Thank you for coming on a very special seminars about dementia-friendly communities. And it's really also, it was one of the most seminars, mind-blowing seminars experience too for me. And Rajiv is also one time visiting me and also at my house in Groningen, the Netherlands. So it's like keep connecting, cherish your social contact. It's like one of survival tips, I think, in this difficult times. So, okay, thank you for being here again, Rajiv, Ake, and Nang. But as usual, for the Alzheimer Indonesia, we always start with, I think I will take a pictures, oh no, later, but we always start with low impact exercise. We have many of videos of low impact exercise, and this is one of them. So for America, this is morning exercise, and for Indonesia, this is a before going to sleep exercise, relaxing your muscles. And for the one in the Europe region like me, it's just in the middle of the day exercise. So let's move our body a bit before we start the session.
Softly the moon shines, gently the wind blows through your hair, through your hair. If love has a glow, darling, I would know, as I have seen, I have seen.
Yes. Sorry that something trouble because I have to turn off my video, because in the YouTube, if I turn on my video, it's only me, and me. So I want to have everybody there and the and the full frame of the session. So yeah, and yes, and here I think we have already 22 person here. I think I want to make a photo group just in case later on somebody's will coming out or come and go, or sometimes they're moved to YouTube. So since everybody's here, let's make our first photo group, okay? So I will ask you to turn on the video, please. If everybody in Indonesia may be already in pajamas, it's okay. Geng daster, yeah. Hi, Diwai.
Why?
Okay. Oh yeah, you can say hi to Rajiv.
Hi Rajiv, hi Nang, hi Aka,
Hi.
Amalia.
So,
Hai, Diwai.
okay, let's take a picture first. Ibu Mary nggak ada gambarnya nih, Ibu Mary. Halo, Ibu Amel Chen. Okay, let's. Oh, I think I have a lot of props already, so I'm not going to props. Okay, I don't need the props. I already have so many. Okay, yeah. 1, 2, 3. Yes, one is enough. I think it's good already. So yes, after this, that I think now I can give the sessions. So the screen
Sure.
is yours to Kak Mariati. Well, I call her Nang, and also Kak Ake, and later on to Rajiv. Okay, over to
All
you,
right.
Nang.
Thank you, Leah. Finally, we meet each other, right, through the screen here. So, hi everybody who's already joined us here. This like 3 different time zone now. Good morning in San Francisco, good afternoon, and good evening in Indonesia. Thank you for joining our webinar today. As Amalia mentioned earlier, this is our first collaboration between ALZI San Francisco and ALZI Nederland. We're so excited because it's been a challenge to find the right time zone since we live on the opposite side of the world right now, right, Amalia? And the same things with our audience right now in Indonesia. So we live here, myself, Ake, and Rajiv. We live in San Francisco Bay Area, and then actually this is still in the morning, by the way. So actually I have to keep my voice down a little bit because I don't want to wake up anybody's here. And we just gonna start our day. So thank you for the light exercise from Kak Lely. It's really help us to start the day. In the meantime, some of you in Indonesia is ready to call it a day now, I think. So hopefully you guys still have energy left to enjoy this session. Okay, so my name is Mariati Paham, but some people call me Nang, and I'm gonna be your moderator today. So before I introduce to our main speaker, I would like to introduce to our chairman for ALZI San Francisco, who is now here with us now. Please welcome Ake Pangestuti. She will share our some program from ALZI San Francisco. All right, Ake, if you're ready, the screen is yours.
Thank you, Nang, Mariati Paham, my dearest partner in crime. Okay, so I'm gonna share just like 2 pages. So, good morning, San Francisco Bay Area. Good morning, Rajiv and Nang, Mariati Paham. And good afternoon, Amalia and everyone in the Netherlands. And good evening, Diwai, all the core wheels, everyone in Indonesia. Thank you for joining us. So my name is Ake, the chair of Alzheimer's Indonesia San Francisco chapter. So thank you for joining us again. I'm also like Mariati Paham. Mariati is excited to hear what Rajiv is going to present to us in a little bit. So yeah, so here you can see our programs and what we have been doing to help Alzheimer's Indonesia from San Francisco. So once a month for everyone, we have been having free webinars once a month, usually by the end of the month, each month. So next week coming up, there is a
there is an October webinar. So the speakers are a couple. Their names are Palo and Handikin. So they're caring for their mom with dementia. So last year they did something huge. So they went to climb to Mount Everest base camp, and they started a fundraiser. So everyone to support them and fundraise their expenses to travel to Mount Everest base camp, and they actually reached and surpassed their goal, and they donated all the amount to Alzheimer's Indonesia. So it's very inspiring. So come join us this next Friday, 6 p.m. local time, and Indonesian time is 8, I think, yeah, 8 a.m. in the morning on a Saturday. So yeah, so other than the current events and other information related to dementia and Alzheimer's, we also, through the webinars, we also learn about risk reduction and stress management, nutrition, and caring for dementia, and also meaningful activities, and of course a lot about dementia and Alzheimer's disease itself. So and then also that's for everyone, for the caregivers. We wanted to do something for the caregivers, so we came up with like a virtual caregivers meetings. It's it depends on how the speakers who would like to speak. So this is from caregivers to caregivers. So the program is called Let's Fight Dementia. So so far they're very the speakers are so inspiring. Everyone is very unique. We literally they share, they speak about their beloved people, beloved family members with dementia. They use the opportunity to honor them, and by speaking about their legacy and the memories, and as well they share the ups and downs along their journey of caring, and also share some tips and tricks and how to deal with the caring every day. So I'm excited for all the caregivers that are joining us right now. So maybe we all can be inspired by what we're gonna hear from Rajiv, hopefully in a little bit. So for people with dementia, we never thought that we would start something. This time is a chair yoga class. So we never thought about it until a friend from Chicago, I used to lived in Chicago. She's been teaching yoga, and currently she's been teaching patients with Parkinson's and Alzheimer's, and she would love to do a class with us. So yeah, so we are so grateful that she decided to teach the class. So that's all what we have. All the past programs posted on live and posted on our YouTube channel. So please check us out at YouTube channel ALZI San Francisco, and also we have these are our social media handles. Please follow us, and also don't forget to follow Alzheimer Indonesia social media. So yeah, thank you for joining us again. I'll hand it back to you now. Thank you very much.
All right, thank you, Ake. Thank you for the nice presentation with all graphic. Okay, so as you know, today's topic is seeing the invisible of how we care for each other. So it's gonna be a very interesting topic, and we are looking forward to learning more about this. And I would like to introduce the presenter. This is Rajiv Mehta from Atlas of Caregiving. Hi, Rajiv. Thank you for wake up so early for all of us here. Hopefully we don't wake up your family. Okay. Okay, so Rajiv is the project director and a lead investigator on the Atlas Caregiving pilot. So you all can check about this program through their website, which is atlasofcaregiving.com. And for today's presentation, Rajiv will introduce this program that's designed to help people see the invisible in their lives and how they interrelated to each other, and the effect of day-to-day living have a sense of well-being. And Rajiv will introduce us 5 tools. Is it 5 or 6, Rajiv?
6.
6 tools that will help people see how they are connected and how they can collaborate with each other to build more resilient communities of the future. So for the next 20 minutes during the presentation, so whoever has the question, you guys can write the question under the chat column or maybe in the Q&A. And if I'm not mistaken, this is live on YouTube as well, right, Amelia? So people who watch from YouTube can drop the question over there, and if the times permit, we can read all the question. Okay, without further ado, I would like to welcome Rajiv to deliver the presentation. All right, Rajiv, would you mind to take it from here?
All right, thanks, Nan. Thanks for, and thanks for all of you for being here at these widespread hours over the course of the day. And as Amelia said, I met Amelia and DY in Salzburg a few years ago, and it's just been fantastic to have initially just heard about their work and then to have this opportunity to work with them. And thank you all for being here. As Nan just mentioned, what I'm going to be talking about is seeing the invisible about how we take care of each other. And just so you know, my background is not in healthcare or social work or anything like this. Once upon a time, I was a research scientist working for NASA, and then I was in Silicon Valley working with companies like Apple and Adobe and so forth. So it might seem like an unusual background for focusing on this very human issue of how do we people care for ourselves, our families, our communities. And yet, believe it or not, all of that previous work actually very much flows into the work that we do here, because being human is being human, and we just have many different ways of looking at it. This particular project started a few years ago when I had organized a number of experts in America about how do we better support families. And we put together all of the experts in the country on this, and yet one of the most important conclusions we came to was really how little did we know about what we all do in our day-to-day lives to take care of each other. So the hospital systems have our medical records, but how do you have any data on a friend coming over when you're feeling sad, or a neighbor coming over to help when you need something? And so we realized we don't actually know what goes on in people's lives. And we started doing some very innovative research in people's homes, and gathered all sorts of data using, fancy equipment and James Bond style cameras and so forth. And it turned out to be very interesting. But one of the surprising things was how much the families that participated enjoyed learning about themselves. And seeing that made us go in a different direction, which was, how do we help anybody look more deeply into their own lives? So not us as research scientists, but how do you look into your own life? And so what I'm going to show you today is the work that we've been doing over the last many years, creating these tools. As you'll see, they only require pencil and paper, but these tools to help you look into how are you connected with other people, with your own family, with the people you work with, and also how does the world impact you? So how does the light in your room, or how cluttered it is, how does that make you feel, and so forth. And just so you know, I'm not going to possibly try to teach you these 20 tools these 6 tools in these 20 minutes. I'm simply going to show you what the idea is, and then I'll point out how you can, if you want, just go learn these things yourself. So let me start by turning on my slides, because these are very visual tools, as you can see. Okay, so hopefully you guys can see the slides. Someone wave their hands to let me know it's working. Okay, great. So I'm going to start with a couple of examples that are not my own, but they're lovely examples, and so you can see what I'm talking about seeing the invisible. So there's this amazing book called Dear Data by these 2 women, Georgia Lupi, who's in New York, and Stephanie Posevich, who's in London. And the two of them, they decided on this crazy project where every week they would pay attention to something in their life and see if they could come up with a diagram to show what that was like. And so here's one example where Stephanie tracked complaints one week. And basically the little rays of different colors on the left are complaints that she said in her head, but didn't say out loud. The ones in the middle are the things that she said out loud. And the ones on the far right are things that she heard. So they weren't, complaints about Stephanie, you're so mean, but rather someone might say to her, oh, the bus is late. And the different colors represent different topics of complaints. So complaining about the bus got one color, complaining about her husband got a different color, complaining about her parents was another color, complaining about the clerk in the store being rude was a different color. And so she came up with this way of showing complaints over the course of a week. Now, what did she learn? She learned that she complains more than anybody else she knows. That's why, all of her complaints are so much more. She also discovered that her number one topic of complaint was her family, although she claims she loves them. And her number two topic of complaint was her husband, who she also claims that she loves. But, who would have thought that you could actually keep track of your complaints and learn something from the process? Here was a different one where they were tracking time alone. And instead of doing kind of, when am I feeling lonely, they came up with all sorts of categories of being alone. And the lines are basically Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, like that. And the little boxes were times during the day that she felt alone. And the outline color represents the type of being alone. So dark green was when she was alone at home with her husband asleep, whereas light green was she was alone in a space all by herself. Whereas, orange was being alone in a crowd. So you're at some coffee shop, you don't know anybody, that kind of thing. And the three rectangles in black in the middle were the only time she felt emotionally alone. So she was with friends, but they weren't being nice. And so she felt emotionally alone. And I think this was a wonderful diagram because it helps us to remember that being alone can range from just glorious solitude to deep, dark loneliness, and that there's range of these things and we can see how we are. So just some wonderful examples that practically anything can be studied and diagrammed. Another group of people that are friends that we have learned a lot from is a global community, really a community, not a club or an organization, of people called Quantified Self who track different things in their lives to see what they can learn about. And some of these people have health issues, which is why they care. Some of them are professional athletes because they're always trying to do their performance, but it's just all sorts of people. And over the last 15 years, we've had, I think, 13 international conferences on this. And so from my friends, we have learned a lot. As an extreme example, a friend of mine in the Netherlands, actually in Denmark, has been working on he sneezes a lot because he has allergies. And as strange as it sounds, his self-research into that has led to new ways that the Danish military helps returning soldiers recover. So the things that we learn go all sorts of places. But so let me now, given that background, show you some of the tools that we ourselves have developed. And one of them is this drawing called an Atlas Care Map. And you can see that it's quite simple to draw. Those are my drawing skills, so you don't have to be talented. It's really, simple stick figures with arrows showing who is caring for whom. And it seems like a very simple diagram, and yet it has turned out to be really powerful. When you're drawing it, you ask yourself, who all do I care for? So you might say to yourself, oh, I'm caring for my aunt who has dementia. But maybe you also have a friend who's very sad and you're helping her feel better. Or maybe you have a sick pet cat that you're taking care of. So who all are you caring for? You also ask yourself, who else cares for them? And you ask yourself, who cares for me? Whose presence in my life really makes my well-being so much better? And as you start doing this, you start discovering that you're really drawing a web of people, not just you in the middle in a bunch of circles. And we have taught this tool to people in their 90s and people, children that were 8 years old, and everybody has been able to do it. And I'll give you just some quick examples of that. These are all real people. In this case, Faye is a young woman. She was about age 30 when I met her, caring for her mother, Josephine, who was in her mid-60s, who had dementia. And that fat arrow says that Faye does a lot every day to take care of Josephine. They live together and she's caring for her. But she also drew a little arrow back from Josephine to herself to recognize that her mom is still doing her best to take care of her as well. That it's not all one way, that she gets some benefit from her mom being there as well. You can see from some of the other dotted arrows to Josephine that there are 4 doctors also caring for her and an Aunt Joan who comes occasionally. But it's dotted lines because they're not there every day. In fact, her aunt only comes to visit every 2 months to give Faye a break. And you can see that there's some people caring for Faye as well. There's a couple of friends, there's another aunt, there's another doctor. And so at a quick glance, you can see that there's many people involved, but that almost all the work is on Faye. And the little circles also give you a sense of distance. So the people inside the middle circle are within 20 minutes. People within the outside circle are within 2 hours. And then Aunt Wilma down in San Diego is much further away. Here is another family, and the picture is starting to get more complex because honestly, these are the realities of people's lives. So Hannah and Gaston are a couple. They're caring for her brother, Harvey, who lives with them. And there's all sorts of people involved in Harvey's care, including doctors, a daycare center, his church. But you can also see that Gaston himself has many doctors. He does a lot to care for himself. He's also caring for his mother, but then his mother and his wife have a close relationship. And this is the reality of our lives, that almost everybody is simultaneously caring for themselves, caring for others, and being cared for. So sometimes when we use this term caregiver and we only mean one direction, we often lose sight of how rich our interactions with other people are. The last example I want to share, this was drawn by an 8-year-old boy. I redrew it so that it was more legible, but this is his drawing. And he lives in a house with his mother and his grandparents. And you can see that he acknowledged that his mother does a lot to care for him, but then he does a lot to care for his grandfather. This is from his perspective, and his grandmother does a lot to take care of his grandfather. And he says his grandfather is short and fat and his grandmother is tall and thin, and that's why he's drawn them this way. He's got some other people in his diagram, including his cat with a little cloud around it. It turns out his pet cat actually died a few years ago, but he feels that his cat is still watching over him all the time. And so this is his view of care in his family. And, it's a pretty sophisticated view, and him drawing this thing really helped his mother much better understand his perspectives about things. So these care maps that people have drawn have turned out to be incredibly powerful in helping people really understand their own lives. And many people have drawn their care maps over and over again because things change. And so they redraw the care map at that time. Right now, we have developed 6 tools overall, and we call the collection of it Mapping Ourselves. And I'll explain the plural ourselves in a moment. So there are 6 different tools. I won't go into detail on all of them, but I'll tell you a little bit about each. A couple of things to mention. One is that they are unfamiliar. So people can't instantly use them. You have to take some time to learn how to use these tools. For many of us, this kind of visual thinking is not what we do day to day. And so there's some learning involved. But as you can imagine, if some 8-year-old kids are doing this, in the end, after you learn it, they're actually pretty simple to do. Anybody can learn them. They're also part of the reason that they're pencil and paper tools, as opposed to some app or technology, is because that makes them incredibly flexible. They're pencil and paper. You can write what you want. You can redraw them. You can do it any way you like. If you don't like our instructions, do it your own way. And that combination of simplicity and flexibility makes these tools, in fact, very, very powerful. We've been teaching many people these tools, and it turns out, especially as a collection, they're very powerful in helping us better understand our own lives. So briefly about these other tools, the care map turns out to be really powerful in showing kind of your close relationship, your friends, your family, and so forth. But we all exist in other communities as well. The people that we work with, our fellow volunteers in Alzheimer's Indonesia, our church group, our soccer team, that kind of thing. And we created this diagram called the social network to emphasize other characteristics of our relationships. And it helps you see relationships in a very different way. And the combination of the care map and the social work network together are in fact very powerful for new perspectives. There's a conversations tool because we as human beings, we seem to live through our conversations. It's almost like something didn't really happen unless you get to talk to somebody about it, if you get to tweet and write a Facebook post about it. And so this diagram helps you pay attention to your conversations over the course of the day. And as you can see, the yellow and blue really jumps out. The yellow are the conversations that left you feeling energized, make you feel good, whereas the blue are the ones that were de-energizing. They kind of left you feeling blah. And it helps you see how different things impact you over the course of the day. And if you do it over many days, you actually start seeing a lot of useful patterns. The daily activities tool has to do with really, where does your time go? No one seems to have enough time. And in fact, one of my friends has studied busyness in America, one of the experts on that. And she points out that almost everybody is busy, but each of us is busy in our own unique way. And if we examine our busyness, it ends up revealing a lot about what we think is important in our lives. And we purposely made this tool not look like a calendar so that it would open your mind to see other patterns. The environment tool is this one. To some people, it looks like alien hieroglyphics, but it helps you. It's like a moment of meditation on where you are. How is the space that you're in right now? Is the light right? Is it too smelly? Is it cluttered? Does it sound good? And it's designed this way so that you can scribble it in the corner of your notebook or a napkin or anything. It's a moment of mindfulness about the space that you're in. And then lastly, this body connection tool helps you sort of keep focus on how are you feeling physically and emotionally. And we've kept it pretty limited. There's only 6 different characteristics, which of course is not the universe of human experience, but it gets you started. And because it's a pencil and paper tool, you can easily add other things to it that seem important to you. So these 6 tools are both really powerful individually, but especially together. And when you learn them, part of what you learn is that you don't have to pay any attention to our tools. You're really learning how to do things and to do it for yourself. I just put up our website over here so you know that all the instructions for all of those tools are actually on the website. So you can go there, you can download the instructions and things like that and learn for yourself. Also, going back to the book I started with, this is another book by the same 2 people, with Georgia Lupi and Stephanie Posevich, called Observe, Collect, Draw. And if you like this idea of drawing about your own life, of exploring your own life through drawing, this is an amazing book. It's written for any of us to learn how to do it. So I'm going to close by just highlighting 3 things about all that our work has led us to learn over the last 15 years. And it turns out to be kind of obvious things, but it took us a long time to see it. One is that we all care. In our industry, we're so used to talking about caregivers as those people who are doing this. But in fact, as human beings, all of us are involved in caring. We're caring for ourselves, we're caring for others, we're being cared for. And we really need to see that rich humanity in our lives to take care of each other better all the time, but also to be better prepared when things get really serious. Secondly, as it turns out, even though we're doing this all the time, we haven't really been paying attention. And so first we have to see. Our tools are designed to help you see, and our tools are designed to teach you what we talk about as personal science. The fact that you have the ability to study yourself and learn a lot in the process. And finally, this idea of collective exploration, which is why we call our work mapping ourselves. It turns out that if you do self-reflection together with your family, with your community, what you learn is so much more than when you do it individually. Again, we humans are such a social species that we interact with each other all the time, and therefore only studying ourselves really misses the point. If we study ourselves with others, then the conversation that we end up having ends up being very, very rich, and we learn so much more. And we also, in the process, really strengthen our ties to each other. So that's that, and I'll turn it back to this.
Thank you, Rajiv.
So thank you, everyone.
It's very interesting, especially I love how you draw the people with the circle and stick, and then and quite interesting for a semi-care map. As you can see, he put the cat as an angel, you know, even though the cat is not longer there, but he still feel like connection with the cat. Okay, so I'm gonna check from the chat, which is if anybody have a question for Rajiv or Amelia, how about from YouTube? Is anyone drop the question? If not, maybe I can ask
from the YouTube.
Okay, so Rajiv, one question from me is like, how often we have to revise our Atlas Care Map, since you know there's such a change of our life, like moving, married, and that. How often we have to redo again our Atlas Care Map?
Yeah, it really depends on circumstances, when anything changes dramatically, you know, and so sometimes it can be a long time before anything changes so much that you actually have to redraw your care map. But sometimes things change overnight. Someone gets all of a sudden really sick, and so tomorrow is very different than today. Your life is thrown in turmoil, and it's worthwhile redrawing it. I know that, for example, in the world of cancer treatment, if someone is first diagnosed with cancer, you know that there's just journey ahead. You're probably going to go through chemotherapy and so forth. And people have found themselves drawing 3 or 4 care maps because the kind of help you need when you're going through chemo is very different than the kind of help you need when you're basically healthy and re-entering society.
Yeah, exactly.
And people also use the care map to think ahead. So there was in one of our workshops a woman who showed us her care map and was talking about how great a support system she had developed for her son, who was a high school student, but he had autism, so he was on the spectrum. And she talked about how their life had been difficult, but at the moment, everything was going really well. He was a good student in school and thriving. But as she was telling us this, you know, she stopped and said, oh, he's going to go to college in 2 years. I have to think about how am I going to create such a support system when he's in another town. And so people have often drawn care maps of the future to help them
planning ahead.
Yeah, plan ahead. And the same thing with the other tools there. You don't have to do it all the time. Life doesn't change. But having used the tools, you even have in your mind the awareness, and then you can pull out the tools when appropriate.
I see. So by seeing the 6 tools, do we need to do it in order? Like first, what they call the Atlas Care Map, and then after that, conversation, and then body connection, or can we do randomly?
Yeah, you absolutely can. I mean, there's no reason to do one or the other first. We found that the Atlas Care Map basically resonates with almost every single person. So it turns out to be a useful place to start just because, but yeah, there's no reason to start in one place or the other in a logical sense.
I see. Wow, that's great. Is there any question from Leah or from DY? It's really interesting tools, I can see.
Yeah, I'm just curious, during this COVID-19, yeah, Rajesh, people has really challenge about caring. Like I was like yesterday, like I told you in the conference, like cherish your connection. So it's always make like sometimes you have challenges. I have a lines that I said, moment I want to hibernate, I have difficult to stimulate myself, so I cannot stimulate people moment. So in these difficult times we have to care of ourselves too. And then do you have any experience during this pandemic about these tools? Is people using it more, or it's interesting?
Yeah, I mean, it's when we're in times of crisis, it is hard. Sometimes next week I'm going to be taking care of my parents. They're 90 and they're not doing so well. And never mind that I'm an expert, it's still just hard. It'll be exhausting. I'll be grumpy. There's no getting around that. But to the extent that we are much more aware of these things in our life, then we're in a better position to do that. One of the things in modern life that has led us to so focus and prioritize professional services that we tend to minimize how important our friends and family are to us. So when you ask people who cares for you, they might talk about their doctor, and they forget their friend who comes over every day, and they laugh, and it's like their friend is so much more important to their life. But it's just a friend. They do it for free. They're annoying sometimes, so we don't pay attention to that. So having a richer appreciation of our human connections, just as a general thing, is a good thing, that we can be more. And so like during the pandemic, like in America, people have all of a sudden become more aware of the person who brings the mail, the clerk at the store. I'm going to be going on a plane soon. I'm like being more aware of those poor stewards and stewardesses that have to put up with us every day. So having more of a sense of empathy and support for others ends up being really important. The last thing to mention is, in some of these workshops we've been doing now, they've obviously been online, and people are having a hard time for all sorts of reasons. And one of the things that's been nice to hear is that people have found these workshops almost like an oasis of calm and humanity in these difficult times, being able to talk about, these are my friends, they care for me, this is how the world affects me, has been kind of a relief to people. So it's been more powerful for most.
Rajiv, I have a question about care. I think I totally agree with you that everybody, this is not only referring to caregivers, because we all, the whole classic, the greatest thing you'll ever learn is to love and be loved in return. I think caring also applies on this. There's continuum of care. There's preventative care, primary care, immediate care, visits, diagnosis, treatment, inpatient, rehab care, until end of life care or long-term care and all that. How do you apply this tool on that? The second one is, how do you also apply that in reality for someone that is recently diagnosed by cancer and somebody with dementia or other non-communicable diseases?
So to answer the second question first, I think it's really crazy that we only step in to teach people about care and connection at a time of crisis. This is a human thing. We should be learning this all along. And then during a time of crisis, we can tap into our skills. And yes, it's much harder, but it's really hard to learn these things in a time of crisis. And these on your first question, I think the fundamental problem is that we are allowing the medical community to define care. Okay, for 99% of our lives, we're not in the medical system. So, and we're only defining it within the system. It's crazy. So I don't think caregiving should only be used in the medical context. I think it's a fundamental flaw. However, that being said, within the medical system, you're right, there's all of these different stages. Right. And so, for example, in terms of cancer, when the person is first diagnosed, I mean, for most of us, that would be quite a devastating thing. And how do you think about it? Even if they've never been introduced to these tools at that time, learning the idea of a care ecosystem and a care map might help them think ahead to who are the people amongst my friends and family that I could turn to for help. And then as you talk through, well, this will probably lead to chemotherapy or radiology, at which time you're going to be feeling really lousy. Which of your friends are more willing to help you during those, if you will, those icky physical things? Whereas assuming you survive that really well and then are going to reintegrate into society, that's when you need the friends around that are much more socially active who can help you with that. And so you can just sort of think through this in that way. And it's like, if you're running a business, if you're running any kind of organization, we make use of tools all the time to help with planning, to help with seeing. It's only in our personal lives that these tools have been absent. And so we're really creating tools for living.
So I think we're on track here with our community with 21 chapters support system in navigating the whole journey of caring. I love seeing you nodding. Thank you for validating where we are, that we're on track, Rajiv.
All right, there's one question that pop up here from chat. It's from Novianti, and the question is how to encourage people care each other in the family that have dementia people.
Yeah, it's a really good question, because if someone in the family is diagnosed with dementia, all of a sudden we have this tendency to focus all of our attention on that person. And which is understandable, but we can't ignore others as well. And so constantly being alert to everybody's issue. And I think where that starts is in fact with us, Amalia, DY, all of us in this kind of space, because on the one hand, you have this mission as Alzheimer's Indonesia to focus on Alzheimer's, which is understandable because it needs attention. But when you're talking to families, you should not make them feel like the only thing that matters is Alzheimer's, right? So we ourselves have to treat families as families to remind them that if you have a child, you need to continue to pay deep attention to the child, even if it means less than perfect care for the person with dementia, right? We as human beings have to manage our whole family and kind of balance these trade-offs. And we have to help and encourage the people that we support to honor their whole family, not just the one person with dementia. So it's a really good question. Just have to keep that in mind.
All right. Okay, so there's Herawasi. I think, Leah, if you can unmute Mbak Herawasi. Where's Mbak Herawasi?
Yeah, it's me. Hi, everyone. Hi, Rajiv. Thank you for the presentation. I don't have a question, but I just want to express myself that it's the first time that I see something like this, the way that you can map people. And I think I'm going to start it myself, and starting with coloring and giving my own colors to, for example, if I feel bad mood, if I feel I'm angry and I'm happy, all that. So I'm just going to define the colors and I'm going to start doing it. So it's really something that I'm really like, wow, this can work, just to see our own development, like statistics, let's say, in quotes. So thank you very much for that. And thank you very much for this webinar, because it's really helpful for me in any case to start with. Thank you.
Well, see, he's a talented painter, Rajiv.
There you go.
Yeah.
Just hobby, just hobby.
Very humble.
Thank you, DY.
I'm just so pleased that it inspired you to do that, because I think so many of us have these innate talents in our own fields that we don't bring to care, because we've sort of been taught that it's only the doctors who did. A couple of years ago, I did a whole series of interviews and blog posts where I talked to people in different fields, from educators to chefs to marketing people, and asked them to think about their caring experiences and asked them to think about how did their professional expertise show up in how they cared for their family members, and vice versa. How did that caring experience end up showing up in their work? And so as an example, one of the people I interviewed was a very successful Broadway producer, and who had cared for his mother with dementia over 15 years. And through the conversation, he realized how his deep skills as a producer ended up helping him manage all of the logistics of his mother's life, and his deep skills as an actor, which involves being able to be in empathy with whatever character he's playing, allowed him to sort of keep an even keel while talking to all these people. But also he talked about how the experience with his mother then has influenced what kinds of topics he has chosen for his films and his plays. And so I can imagine the same with you. Your art will show up in how you care, and vice versa.
Yeah, yeah.
You.
Wow, interesting. I like the first slide that's showing the what they call the complaint things with the right. Oh my God, I'm gonna use all the colors for me.
You see different colors.
Yeah.
So those two ladies, Georgia Lupi and Stephanie Posevich, are two of the world's most brilliant information designers. And so their clients are people like, Google and the World Bank and IBM, but they also do this incredibly personal stuff. So it's exciting.
I love your statement earlier. Very powerful, Rajiv. How do we bring our talent to care? We have a caregiver here. Her name is Amelia Chen, and in response to COVID-19, because she's a daughter-in-law and she took care of both of her parents-in-law. The mother-in-law passed away, but now she's focusing on her dad-in-law, and her dad-in-law is always into going to restaurants and all that. So during COVID-19, it's locked down. So I had the privilege to taste her Japanese cheesecake because her talent in baking is fascinating. Korean bulgogi, Vietnamese, and all that. So caring for the in-laws, the whole COVID-19 took her to explore other talent. Amel, I don't know, she's still in mute, but feel free to share your thoughts as well, I guess, if she wants.
So we would like to try your cake. You can send to us to Palo Alto and San Francisco, Amel.
You are so far, Mbak. If you are in Jakarta, I will send to you.
Blame to DUI. All right, there's another.
I was gonna answer this one question I saw in chat from
Sure.
Celistia. She's asking, after I finish drawing my Atlas Care Map, what is the next thing to do? How do I apply it in my daily life? It's a good question, and the honest answer is I can't tell you because everybody's situation is so different. But I want to stress that most of the learning from doing the Care Map actually comes from the process of thinking about what to draw and then talking with others in the family about what you've drawn. Oftentimes people are surprised to find by what they drew, even though it came out of their own heads. Just seeing it makes them think about things differently. Oftentimes what they drew actually isn't a whole lot more accurate than their previous thinking because self-reflection takes time. So you might draw it and then you talk to your friends about it, or you talk to your family member, and a couple of weeks later you come back and redraw it. You will draw something different because in a sense your eyes have been opened and you see things differently. So it's not a do it once, it's more a process of self-reflection. It's really kind of meditation, just using pencil and paper. The other thing is people tend to use these tools with this idea that, oh, they'll discover what things are and then they'll see what to fix, which is useful. But so often people discover in the drawing what is already good, and then they put in the energy to make sure that that good stuff stays and emphasizes and it's a process for thinking, but not just a here's what you do next. I hope that helps. I know it's.
So for the what they call again the Atlas of Map, do you have any different culture is different kind of community? So let's say we're talking about people in Asia, which is we usually live with bunch of cousins, grandpas, grandmas, and we have a different style of community here in America. Let's say people is more individual. So is there any thought based on that different background of culture, Rajiv?
Yeah, so the care map and these other tools have been used around the world. So they've been used in Shanghai and Singapore and Stockholm and Groningen. So, and you know, to your point, Nan, like I think of my family in New Jersey. If we have a family birthday party, it's 200 people because there's just a lot of people. Part of what you start noticing for yourself is even when you have a huge family, there are some people you're much closer to and much more involved than others. And that's just the reality of our lives, because honestly, how many can you deal with every day? Yeah. So, you know, at the holiday party, you have to invite all 200 people, but otherwise, most of the time, you're only dealing with a handful of them. And it's that process of recognizing the reality of our lives, as opposed to the idea that, well, since I have 17 cousins, all of them need to be in here equivalently. It's not true. Some of them are really close. Some of them you never talk to. So yes, you know, like in America, we have Mormon families that often have many more children than the rest of us. So theirs looks different, but otherwise it kind of works. And again, being pencil and paper, people can draw small if they need to.
Okay. So by doing this, actually, we try to figure out which is our real friends, something like that, right? Am I correct? Or something that we really care, not just like have 5,000 friends in Facebook. It means that we're gonna draw all that 5,000 on our Atlas. Yeah, so we really need to know which one is even meaningful for us.
Yeah, and sometimes people discover they have far more close people than they thought.
Yeah.
Because again, we're so used to not paying attention to that sometimes we just don't notice the good people in our lives.
It's very interesting. Thank you, Rajiv. This is okay. Sorry, I'm just checking from here. There's from Michael. Greetings from me. Nice to see you. Okay, there's a question from Michael. How your suggestion for youth generation to have a journey of care? Because nowadays the generation mostly lack of empathy or caring others. Do you have any experience about this, and what your thought about this?
Yeah, so recently I've been working with some high school students in a rural community in the state of Michigan. And you know, I've worked with other kids in the past as well in cities and elsewhere. And I think our perception of them as being uncaring is too harsh. We're often not seeing how much they are involved in our lives. Sometimes I've noticed that, especially in poor families, the teenage girls, they're the ones that hold everything together. They're doing all the work because their parents might be holding down 2 or 3 jobs, but they have younger siblings to take care of. Someone's got to make sure dinner's on the table. And so it's often the teenagers who might be grumpy, but otherwise they're doing a lot. And even the young children, I remember when my wife's mother was really ill. She passed away about 20 years ago. But at the time, my nephew, who was only 7 or 8 at the time, when he would come home, he would spend the next 2 hours with his grandmother. And you know, he didn't do much, but his presence there, just talking to her, having a glass of water, was invaluable. So we find that on the whole, children are actually doing much more than we seem to give them credit for. And so allowing them, like in these high school kids, they were just so delighted to discover how important they were to their families. They were delighted to discover how much their families were involved in their lives. So I don't want to, you know, make a broad statement that everybody is like that, but I think there's a lot more care going on than we give the kids credit for.
Rajiv, I want to comment on that because there's some grandmas, grandpas complain to me directly and say they felt alone when their grandchildren come and visit because they're busier with their gadgets than being present. And that's something that really made the elderly feel lonely. And so these are the things that we still have to figure out a way on how to kind of, you know, I don't know, grab the attention of the millennials or, you know, that.
No, I mean, that's true, DY. It's a hard one because it's so cultural. I mean, if we adults would put our phones away and just talk to each other. That, set good examples would help. But you're right. We've grown up in this time where people have forgotten how to sit and be quiet,
Yeah.
which kind of makes it possible for those conversations.
Yeah.
But again, I think that's not the kids as opposed to kind of our culture overall.
Yeah.
So I have a question. Can I ask a question? So for me, I'm still wondering, by using these tools, so how do we know that we're okay? Like we're on track? Who's going to help us evaluate and justify, like, and then how to move forward? How do we like maybe reduce our group, like group care, or expand it out? How the tools help us to direct us to a better place?
So so for one thing, you still have access to all of those experts. So if you're talking to a therapist or whatever, you're just going to be armed with a better understanding of yourself to speak with the therapist about. So that still exists. But part of what we're trying to help people see is how knowledgeable they are themselves, and how their own circle of friends and family and community collectively have so much knowledge and wisdom to bring to this. We've sort of been trained into, don't think for yourself, ask the doctor. And this is like nonsense. Who knows you better than your spouse, your friend, your sister? And so if we're more willing and able to talk to each other, the better we can move forward on this. The last thing to add is just a little thing, but I think important. This idea of, are we on the right track? I think is asked this question that implies that there is such a thing as a right track. And it's more that, life is complicated and you sort of dance through it the best you can. And so we get kind of, we get off track by trying to find the right one, if that makes any sense.
So this is more like self-assessment or self-evaluation for us, right?
Well, self-reflection more than self-assessment. Again, assessment implies that there's a rightness.
You're right. Yeah. Right. All right. Is there any other question? This is like quite interesting topic here. There's no question, Amelia, from YouTube?
No, from YouTube. I write down already in the chat. There is a lot of applications from Liana. Yeah, because she is also a caregiver for her mothers, and also now her fathers is starting to get signals of dementia. So she's taking care of them, and now in this period too, I think it's really hard for her. Hi, Liana. So thank you. If it's open your mind and then inspires her a lot, then yeah. I'm really agree with Rajiv. This is like a oasis for all the tools, like the technique of caring, but this is like a reflection. So that's it from the YouTube, Nang.
Oh, actually, I have one more like a technical question. So is it possible for us to help someone else to with their tools, but we're helping? Like filling out the tools if they're not capable of, or they're not into drawings, or they're old, or they're too young to how do we help adapt to this?
Yeah, it could be. Absolutely. Again, part of the beauty of pencil and paper tools is that you can just do them and you just adjust it to fit your needs as best as you can. And, again, don't worry about doing the tool right. If it's helpful, it's helpful. If it's not, don't use it. But if it helps just a little bit to even have a conversation about these things, that makes the difference. Sometimes, as in what you're describing, simply using the tool to ask these questions, like, so who are you close to? Who do you care for? Like, one of the really powerful questions to ask the people that we think of as patients, as care recipients, is to ask them, who do they think they care for? Because they often think they're still caring for a lot of people, and they may really be. and allowing them that self of agency that I am contributing to my family still is very important, and to see their point of view. So even if all you do is simply use the questions to have a conversation, that could be helpful.
That's great. Okay, is anybody else want to give a comment or question?
So in the previous drawing, the care atlas, there's a cat, right, Rajiv? So I have 3 wonderful doggies, Belgian Malinois, Charlie, Doofy, and Finland, and I have my dad, and I have my siblings. You know, so I just have to kind of put it all together on the first
Circle.
whole circle. You know, first circle, second circle, like the main or tertiary or secondary, you know, those kind of things. It's a nice reflection and putting it all together, because the dogs are so therapeutic. You know, when in the past, my dog literally accompanied my mom, my late mom, sitting at the terrace in the afternoon all the time. Her name is Angelina Roxy Weiler. And there's a picture of her sitting next to my mom, you know, all the time, but not saying anything, but always there. So that's a caring act, no, Rajiv?
Yeah. Although our pets are just as much part of the family as the people.
Yeah. They don't talk back, right? I love pets. I have 2 cats.
They don't talk back, like.
Right? So is your dog, who's that, Angelina, still alive?
Roxy Weiler have, you know, all these puppies, and now I have Charlie, Doofy, and Finland. She passed away.
My God, the name is like,
and
more beautiful than mine.
It's inspired by Angelina Jolie and Rottweiler. So Angelina Roxy Weiler.
Wow, aristocrat name.
God. I know, right? All right. So any other comment? If not, okay, now it's already over than 1 hour. So I know that at the beginning, who is that in Manado? Mbak Mary in Manado. I don't know if Mbak Mary is still here. I don't know what time is it over there now. It's already like close to midnight. But I can see all you guys in Indonesia. Your eyes is really like halfway.
Mbak Mary is here still.
Oh, Mbak Mary. While we're in San Francisco, still, you know, gonna start a day. Okay.
I'm still here.
Mbak Mary, you drink a lot of coffee?
Yes, I have a puppy, but few years ago, the last one has died, and then I don't want to have it anymore, because because we are only staying here, only my husband and I, so nobody cares for him if we are going out. So that's why the last one died, and then it's all over.
Yeah. What kind of puppy? You have a dog?
I have 8 dogs.
Oh my God, 8.
Yeah, 8 dogs. We like animals. Yeah, our family likes animals. So after my children went away from the home, they have their own nest, and then
you replace them with
we only stay so the last one died about maybe 3 years ago, and then I said it's all over. No more dogs.
No more dogs. It's time for you and your husband to honeymoon, right? No more taking care of animal person.
No, I have that. That's why I have to take care of my husband, because he had stroke for 3 times already. So now he couldn't move well. So I have to take care for him.
Okay. So you're already busy. You already have a full of plate.
Yeah, I want to ask you, Reggie, how about to teach him, to write, to draw the map, because now his right hand is not looking well. So he tried to write with his left hand. How to not push? Sometimes he is a little stubborn. if I asked him to practice writing, he said, "Oh, I know how to write already," but he just write one, 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 no more than one. Every day only one, 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 one. Where
That's
is
good
the
enough.
nine? No, only one, one, one. Yeah, tomorrow I'll write two. He said, but every day only one, 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 one. How to what is that?
To
Not
encourage
yeah,
him.
because he's a lecturer. He doesn't want me to teach him. Yeah, he said, "Well, I know how to teach people. Don't teach me."
There's still pride on him,
Yeah.
right?
So how about that? And he is a little what is that? Introvert. Yeah. He is very quiet, very calm, very patient. So he never complain. Yeah, yeah. Almost never complain. Yeah. He just yes. He only smile. Yeah. So
For
how about that?
for some people, never complain is good, but
Yeah. Yeah, but
but for
sometimes
you is
yeah, it's difficult for me if it's a, is
how to
he sick?
communicate.
Is he happy? Is he maybe if maybe I
You
talk
cannot
too much
tell.
to him? Yeah, he just just smiling. Yeah, that's
I
right.
think
So
I think your question is similar. Your question is similar with the one that Ake just asked. Is you can draw it for him instead of ask him to draw it by himself if he doesn't want to. But since you're the one who close to him and you as a caregiver to him, at least you know when the times he feels lonely, he feels maybe. Am I correct, Rajiv? We can help them to draw what they're feeling, something like that, right?
Yeah, I mean, this isn't obviously a magic stick that works everywhere, but yeah,
yeah.
I mean,
So
it's
so for the whole time, I'm the one who talks to him, who write for him. Every time he just smile. Oh, that's good. He said only. He said, that's good. That's right. No
and there have been
complaint
people
anymore.
in the early stages of dementia who are still living by themselves
Yeah,
and so
I
forth,
think
who have
I
found these
think
tools really useful for them,
yeah,
but
I think
they're able
he
to
is in
still
the
do
early
it.
stage, yeah, of dementia. Yeah, I think he's on the early stage because he still, oh, I still can remember that. Yeah. He still remember his old friend from the elementary. He still can remember.
That's good.
But sometimes the new one, the new one, he cannot remember. Yeah, he just remember the old one. So if I ask him to tell about the old stories, oh, he can, but not the new one. The new one he forget it soon. Yeah, he
Hang
forget
in
it.
there, Mbak Mering, hanging in there.
Yeah.
Maybe you should adopt another dog or cat, maybe, to keep you busy. All right. Since there's no other question, I don't know from Alia and DY, maybe if not, we can wrap up this presentation. I know
No,
that
it's
some
just
of you
one
is already.
appreciation from Liana on YouTube. I write down in
Oh, okay.
chat.
Thank you so much. Yeah, thank you, Raji, for interesting and inspiring presentation. I agree with that. So thank you so much, Rajiv. So maybe, I don't know if we're gonna close with another photo group picture, Leah, or
Yes.
so everybody can.
This also, Liana said that they are taking care of stray cats, and the stray cat is accompanying her father sunbathing. So it's also
so cute.
it's interesting. Yeah, actually, the pet is also is in a circle actually.
With a thick arrow, so they're the one who take care of us.
Yeah, looks like a new discovery, Rajiv. So people realize that they need more pets.
After this presentation, they cannot find like turtle, birds, or
fish.
As long as they don't talk back, right, Rajiv? All right. So like Amalia said, maybe everybody can turn on the camera. And then Amalia mentioned about it's important to put on lipstick. Is it correct, Amalia?
Oh, put on lipstick. Yes. Before you
Even
go
though
to
it's like
sleep,
11
don't
o'clock
forget
at
to
night.
put on lipstick. Indonesia, especially Bu Mary, put on lipstick before to go to sleep.
All right.
Okay.
So we're going to have a last photo group, right?
Yeah.
Okay. You're going to take.
Okay. One moment. There is. Yeah, sorry. No, not yet.
No
Okay.
blinking.
Now, 1, 2, 3. Yay!
All right. Thank you so much, Rajiv,
Okay.
for the
A
presentation.
moment. Somebody is having a birthday today.
Happy birthday.
Jangan kabur ya,
Happy
jangan kabur ya,
birthday.
kabur ya. So, before I have some information, thank you ya Kanang, Rajiv, and Kak Ake for everything. Before I share some informations, let's sing happy birthday. Oh, sorry. Siapakah itu? Ya, Kak Erna ulang tahun hari ini.
Happy birthday.
Yeah, so
Happy birthday, Kak Erna.
All the best.
yeah, we can turn on
you
our microphone and let's sing for Erna.
Our champion, Rajiv.
From around the world, Kak Erna.
From around the world, from every time zone.
Happy birthday.
Day to you.
I always blow the candle.
Happy birthday,
Kak Erna.
Thank you so much.
Okay, blow the candle, eat the cakes. Another reason to eat the cakes before the day changes to tomorrow.
Greetings from San Francisco here. Happy birthday, Kak Erna. All right.
So I will share some information before we are closing down. Not closing down. So thank you very much again. I can see, there is some lights in my face because it's a sunset now, and so the sun is there, so it's like a ray of light. I have to be a little bit yeah. So thank you very much, everybody. For me, it's actually it's opening like Rajiv when we talk about it, Rajiv, for the first time. Rajiv is already talked. I think these sessions is more to inspire people than to teach how to do it, or it's more to the open mind for people, and I think we achieved that, Rajiv, aren't we? Because
I think so.
Yeah, people are that's the thing to oh yeah, and it's really a compliment my feeling yesterday from the conference. Like I told you, the cherish our loved ones, our social contact, and again in this time of crisis, yeah, everybody has a little bit crisis during this pandemic. It's important. Okay. Thank you very much again. And I just want to inform that the next sessions will be on Friday, 6 November. It will be in Bahasa Indonesia this time because there is immigrant diaspora Indonesia who's working in the nursing homes in the Netherlands. And she is also working in the dementia part, the elderly nursing homes. And both of her parents is in Indonesia having dementia, people with dementia. So it's inspired her to work as a nurse in the nursing home. So we will hear her experience, her backgrounds, her stories, and also maybe it's also a transfer knowledge from the Netherlands to Indonesia, another story from the immigrant. Yeah, details will be coming soon, of course, in the social media of Alzheimer Indonesia and Nederland. And if you want to go to ALZI store to buy all the merchandise for the pictures and everything, we have ALZI store. We have a photo group already. So basically, we are done. Thank you, everybody. You can unmute, say thank you, everyone. Rajiv, again,
Thank you. Thank you, Rajiv.
Thank you, Rajiv.
It's really, I want to put the colors
Thank
of
you, Rajiv,
now
and
in my life.
everyone.
Thank you everyone for joining.
Thank
and
you,
especially
Kak Kak
to Rajiv.
Nang.
Thank you.
And thank you Amalia for initiating
Amalia,
this.
thank you.
Thank you Kak Mike for joining everyone. Everyone.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you. Benar-benar around the world ya nih.
Udah tidur,
Around the
Michael.
world.
Tidur.
Iya.
Kita mau mandi di sama sini. Belum mandi pagi.
Itu biasa saja. Siapa bilang pikun itu tak berbahaya? Jangan malu dengan pikun, jangan malu dengan pikun. Hati-hatilah.
This is from our country, everyone.
Marah-marah curiga yang berlebihan.
Whoa.
Oh.
What happened? Oh.
Tuh.
So excited.
So we all still here.
Lagi enak-enak denger lagunya.
Session.
Oke.
Sampai pagi, Kak.
Sampai pagi.
Lagi enak.
Bukan nggak mau keluar juga gue. Baik lagi.
Siapa bilang pikun itu biasa saja? Siapa bilang pikun itu tak berbahaya? Jangan malu dengan pikun, jangan malu dengan pikun. Hati-hatilah, bila sudah mulai lupa, bingung tidak fokus, marah-marah curiga yang berlebihan. Pikun jangan, jangan pikun, pikun jangan, jangan malu pikun, pikun jangan, jangan pikun, pikun jangan, jangan malu dengan pikun. Siapa bilang pikun itu biasa saja? Siapa bilang pikun itu tak berbahaya? Jangan malu dengan pikun, jangan malu dengan pikun. Hati-hatilah, bila sudah mulai lupa, bingung tidak fokus, marah-marah curiga yang berlebihan. Pikun jangan, jangan pikun, pikun jangan, jangan malu pikun, pikun jangan, jangan pikun, pikun jangan, jangan malu dengan pikun. Makanya jangan galau, makanya jangan sedih, makanya mulai dari sekarang sadari dan kenali tanda-tandanya. Waspadalah, waspadalah, waspada, 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 waspadalah. Pikun jangan, jangan pikun, pikun jangan, jangan malu pikun, pikun jangan, jangan pikun, pikun jangan, jangan malu pikun, pikun jangan, jangan.
Ini kok lompat-lompat lagi ya?
Di sini lagi.
Dan masih di sini gitu ya, Kak, semua ya.
Gantung begitu, padahal aku nggak ngantuk ya. Oke semua, terima kasih banyak ya.
Baiklah kalau begitu. Terima kasih Kak Nang, Kak Kek, Kak Amalia, Kak Wasi. Nah, bye-bye. Kak Mary, Kak Novi.
Terima kasih banyak ya.
Thank you Kak Devi, Kak Leli. Bye-bye. Salam dari Monas.
Kak lagi. Nggak jadi ngantuk.
Oke, selamat tidur.